Hey folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again we will continue with the Professional Ethics by the Chartered Accountant Act 1949, right? So people who are consistent with all the classes, they know that yes, we have completed the first 5 clauses of the part 1 of the first schedule of section 22, right? So today in this lecture we'll move ahead with the clause number 6, again from the first part itself, right? So let's see what clause 6 has to say. So this is the bare text from your material, right? So we'll go through each and every word in sequence as it is. Try to stick as close to these words as possible, right? So a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he, number 1, if he solicits client or professional work either directly or indirectly by circular, advertisement, personal communication or interview. So boys, these are friends, these are just 4 ways that have specifically been prohibited, right? That you cannot solicit your clients via a circular, via advertisements, via personal communication or interview. Yes, there are exceptions as well, we'll discuss about those, but please keep in mind that being a chartered accountant, these methods of soliciting clients are not open to you, right? And you can also say that yeah, clause 6 is also a continuation of clause 5 that we have done, where we talked about securing the client. So this clause further goes ahead to emphasize that for securing your professional work, you should not be taking help from others, right? You should do it either by yourself or through your partner or your employee in the same firm, right? So clause 6 says, solicits clients or professional work either directly or indirectly by circular, advertisement, personal communication or interview, or by any other means. That means you're not allowed to solicit clients at all, right? Provided that nothing herein contained shall be construed as preventing or prohibiting any chartered accountant from applying or requesting for or inviting or securing professional work from another chartered accountant in practice. Yes, which means just take it in a plain and clear layman term. When you become a chartered accountant, all of you who are looking forward to get into your practice, right? Because over here in the first part, we're all talking about a chartered accountant in practice. And if you see, right, on the overall term, the entire professional ethics, right, the major crunch of it is into the practice segment rather than the job segment. So for the first schedule, part 2, you have just 2 clauses which are applicable for the job segment. Yeah, and other than the general will obviously be applied on both, but specifically if you see, you have 22 clauses altogether, combining the first schedule and second schedule on the practice segment, right? So once you go out to practice, people say practice is difficult. Why? Because it is difficult to get clients. My dear friends, understand, it is not actually difficult to get clients if you apply these methods. Rolled out into newspapers, given discounts, giving out your advertisements, meeting people, soliciting clients. If you do these things that general professionals in the market, the general professionals from other professions in the market, they do, if you do that, you can also get clients. But remember, you are chartered accountants. The repute of this profession is to the next level, right? So you cannot go ahead in the market and just proclaim yourself that yeah, I'm a chartered accountant, I have these qualifications, these specializations, these are the discounts I'm giving and everything, these are the free services I'm rendering. Please come and give me your contracts. Then you spoil your reputation by yourself, right? So what you generally do, if you know a chartered accountant who is in practice, most of you must be going for an internship, right? And your principal or your partner is either holding a partnership firm or a proprietorship firm. Ask him, how does he get clients? Okay, today he has a big firm, clients may be approaching him, but initially when he started with, he went on with his resources. Now when I say resources, it means yes, he must have looked out to some chartered accountant either where he had been into his interns during his internship or whom he knows right? He would have approached them and asked them for some clients. That yes, sir, if you have a lot of clients, you already have a lot of clients. If there are some other clients coming up and you don't think, or it's a burden for you, or it's excess for you, could you please refer me to those clients, or could you please hand me over those audits of those clients? And that chartered accountant starts giving you 1 or 2 clients initially, and then you grow and grow and grow. And how do you grow? You grow when you give a good professional support to that client, or whatever was required out of you, you have fulfilled his requirements to the extent or even beyond. Then that client has a good reputation for you in his mind, and when he goes out in the market and he talks to his friend, he may refer that yeah, I have my auditor, he works really well, he is technically very sound, professionally he is a man of standing, right? Then what happens is that client will form a good impression about you and try to come. That is how you roll on one after other clients. That is all about your goodwill and your reputation that brings you a client. Soliciting in any manner, right, would degrade your reputation. We are into a profession of very high standing. We are not supposed to do this. So the institute says you are not supposed to solicit clients in any ways, but these 2 means are open to you. That yes, you can approach some other chartered accountant and ask for his help to get clients. And when I say you are asking him for his help to get clients, that means you go and you request him for clients, and he will share his clients with you. He will not go ahead and solicit for you, right? So it says any chartered accountant from applying or requesting, you are requesting, right, for or inviting or securing professional work from another chartered accountant who is already in practice and who has clients, who has some reputation in the market, right? Or the next thing, the next where these conditions do not apply, these restrictions do not apply, is if you go ahead to a member from responding, like they do not prohibit a member from responding to tenders or inquiries issued by various users of the professional service or organization from time to time and securing professional work as a consequence. Now again, over here, if you pay attention, then please mark the word responding. You cannot go ahead with hovering inquiries. Hey, do you have panels? Do you have tenders? I want to raise my bid. I want to get my name impaneled in that list. You cannot do that. But yeah, if there are certain tenders, certain inquiries that have been floated, basically these are done by the government sector and the PSUs, right? They float out tenders. The private, they do very rarely. But if you go to the public sector or this government sector, so over there, who are the users of your professional service, who needs chartered accountants, right? They roll out tenders and they roll out inquiries. And when somebody else has rolled out tenders or inquiries, you can respond to them. If they have a specific requirement, you can go ahead and say that, yes, I fulfill your requirements. You can take me in and we can work, or I can help you fulfill your task. But you cannot go ahead to a company and say, hey, if you have this requirement, do let me know, I can do this. No. That is a mean that is not open to you, because that is soliciting. But if they themselves have come up, they have rolled out general tenders in the market, you're always free to go ahead and respond to that tender. Because that will not show your desperation for the client. You are not going to the client. The client has in general laid it out in the market that yes, I need some chartered accountant who can help me on this front. And you say, yeah, I'm available. I saw your advertisement, I'm available. I can do that for you. Right? So understand, it's a very thin line difference. But if you cross the line, you may be in trouble. So you can go to some other chartered accountant and request him for some professional work, or you can respond to tenders and inquiries. These are the only 2 modes available for you for securing and soliciting clients. Other than this, if you go ahead with any other mode, right, then you will be guilty of professional misconduct. You may be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct, right? So that was a brief about this clause, what the text says. I have just given you a literal interpretation of the text given in this clause, right? Now we are done with the literal interpretation of the text. That is what is general. Even when you must have read it, you could have gauged out that yeah, this clause means this. right? But if we go beyond to understand why is such a restriction actually applied? Why do we need it? It's not just because of the reputation that we have a different level standing in the environment around, right, in the public, so we cannot go ahead to solicit clients. But there are specific reasons for it. So if we look at the background, right, then such a constraint is very much necessary if you actually want to maintain the independence of your judgment. That means the institute basically wants that the chartered accountant, when he goes on to audit a client and to give his judgment for it, right, his judgment should be independent. That is why he wants that the client should approach him and he should have the upper standing. He should have the upper hand on it. Because if he goes on to solicit clients and bargains a deal, right, it shows a desperation, and in that bargain the client, right, will have the upper hand, and then your judgment may and may not be independent. So in order to avoid these kind of risk, right, understand the crux behind is to give an independent judgment, being an auditor. So you cannot sacrifice that basic necessity of an auditor. That is the basic requirement. Otherwise your entire audit, your report goes for a toss, right? And in the general scenario also, you see, whosoever has the upper hand has the say. So if you let your client overtake, right, or to be overpowered in you, then you will not have that independence of judgment, and hence your entire purpose of being an auditor is defeated, right? And second thing is that you should be able to command the respect from the client that you're gonna get. You're prospecting a client, right? You know what is prospecting? If you relate to it, it was actually a method of finding out gold from the field. If you relate to the word prospecting, the history from where this word has evolved, right? So if you are prospecting a client, if you are trying to find out something good out of the entire crowd, you should also be able to command respect from him in future. Because if you go on for soliciting and give him a chance to bargain, right, then you lose your respect into your client's eyes, and that becomes a task. If your client is not respecting you, then it will be very difficult for you to complete the audit, because when you have a requirement and you place that requirement forward, the client will not take it very seriously, right? So in order to maintain the independence of judgment and also to command the respect from the client, you have to follow these protocols, right? And when these protocols are developed, these things are very well kept in mind, and accordingly the entire professional ethics has been framed. So when you have this bent of mind, right, so whatever questions you encounter, you can make a judgment whether am I compromising on my independence or am I compromising on my respect. If I'm compromising in any one of them, then as per the professional ethics, I am guilty. I'm not supposed to do this, right? So that is basically the background of this clause. That is what clause 6 actually goes on to portray. Further, if I go ahead to talk about it to give you another understanding from a different angle, then understand, initially when you become auditors, right, you are preparing for your CA finals soon. Within a year or two, most of you will become auditors in the country, right? So what will happen then? You think that, okay, to start with, if I go ahead with these latest methods of advertisement, I will be able to crack good clients. But if you see the market scenario, you are wrong on that front. Even if you advertise, even if you go on with the protocols that are set in the opposite direction, that means even if you go ahead to not to abide by these clauses, right, and follow your own methods for soliciting clients, first of all, you will be deemed to be professionally guilty, number one. Secondly, even the clients will not turn up to you. Ask the experienced auditors, they will tell you that these are not the actual ways by which the clients get attracted. It's a different level playing field. It's not a deal that you're giving. It's not at all a deal that you're giving that, online these products are a little cheaper on my portal, please go and purchase them. No. But actually what you need to portray is that if you want this kind of work to be done, right? You have no other option but me. You will have to show him your integrity, your ability, right? You will have to instill that confidence in you, in the general crowd around, so that they look up to you. When they get stuck with some work, they come up to you that yes, this is the chartered accountant to whom I can approach and will solve my problems, or will give me a better understanding of my company as well. Right? If you get for internal audit, for statutory audit, he knows that yes, if this auditor goes on for a statutory audit of my company, I will get an appropriate report and I will get an understanding of what is going on in my company. It is because of his integrity and because of his ability, not because of the discounts or the offers that he is giving me. Right? Because the business owners are very keen when they employ you as an auditor, or when they appoint you, not employ, sorry. When they appoint you as an auditor, they have certain expectations in mind, and deals do not shake them off their expectations. Right? And always remember that as a chartered accountant, your value can only be appraised by personal contacts and the experience that you have. It is not by the offers you are giving or the advertisements, the fancy advertisements you're making. No. If you want your value, right, a true value of you to be portrayed in the public, you can only do that by personal communication. Right? But if you go on with this advertisement and soliciting purpose, you may seem to be over anxious to instill that confidence in those people. And in return, what happens? It works opposite. They understand you don't have clients. They understand you don't have good works. They understand you're not getting clients. That is why you are coming out and hunting for clients. And nobody will turn up. Understand, nobody will turn up. They'll understand that you're not doing good in your life. They'll understand you're not a good auditor. That is why you don't have clients and you have to come out this way. Right? So you may be thinking initially that yeah, these are the right ways, but when you get your experience, you understand these kinds of work will actually take you to the doom and nothing else. It's only the quality service that you provide which will attract and retain your clients for lifetime, and nothing else. Right? So that was the background of clause 6. I hope it is clear with you. The understanding of why this clause was important, what made institute frame such a condition, right, and what is given in this clause. So just keep one thing in mind: soliciting is not allowed. Securing clients by some other means are not allowed. So clause 5 and clause 6 are very simple clauses. So when you get the question and you have this bent of mind, you will be easily answering those questions. Just remember, you will have to quote the text in this clause. That is why I have shown you the entire text on the screen and kept it for so long. Register it in your brain. Right? So that will be all about clause 6 for the day. We have lot many things to discuss in clause 6 as well. Right? Like what are the kinds of solicitations or the methods of soliciting clients that the institute has prohibited. We'll be discussing all of those in the next lecture individually. Right? So we may take a couple of lectures on this particular clause because this is an important clause and institute has gone in depth to give you an understanding of this clause point to point, because everywhere you have a room, you have a very thin line difference. So institute has placed a clear demarcation between those differences. So we'll have to go through each of them very carefully. Right? But you need not take tension about it. I'm there. I'll explain it to you step by step. Right? So I'll see you guys back in the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye.